Bluey is one of the best cartoons in the world, but even this incredible animation has some small errors that can be noticed by the watchful eyes of those who love cartoons. One of these small errors can be seen in the episode The Beach from the first season of the show, where we see the Healer family doing what they do best, having fun. Everyone is enjoying themselves and playing on the beach, and even Bandit is building a sandcastle, while Bingo is burying Bluey in the sand at the beach and making a mermaid tail on her legs. And it's at this moment that a small animation flaw occurs. When Bluey leans backward, we have a top-down view of the two little dogs, and you can notice that their eyebrows are blue. The problem is that in this episode, Bluey had her eyebrows painted yellow, probably because of the sunscreen that Chili applied to the girls. But errors can always happen, even in such good cartoons, and today we're here to show you some of these flaws that not everyone noticed in Bluey. Invisible tail. Some errors are so quick that we can barely see them properly, like this next one we noticed. In one of the episodes, Bandit is playing in bed with Bingo, and during that, something very curious can be seen. Or rather, cannot be seen. Take a look and see if you can notice. If you notice that while he was spinning on the bed, Bandit's tail simply disappears, you hit the nail on the head. Did the animators really slip up when it came to putting Bandit's tail on? What do you think? Sinister Fruits. Now we have another case of a mysterious disappearance of an item that appears in a scene between Bandit and his daughters. In the episode Krabby Tickles, Bluey and Bingo are having fun with their playful dad in various different scenes and rooms of the house. The girls pretend to be crabs tickling and chase Bandit into the kitchen, where he climbs onto a counter to escape the fake crabs and grabs fruit from a basket to throw at them. And at that very moment, we can clearly see that one of the fruits from the basket, probably an orange, simply disappears out of nowhere.
Wait, these tickle crabs are smart!
Does the Healer house have a special power to make things invisible? Or is this just a silly continuity error in the scene? In reality, it doesn't matter that much because it's so enjoyable to see the little dogs and their dad playing that we hardly notice these little mistakes. Floating snout. Among a few animation flaws here and there, some stand out for being more noticeable and are noticed by several people when watching an episode of Bluey. One of these obvious and easy-to-see animation defects occurs in the episode Takeaway. When Bluey pretends to take an order, we can clearly see that her snout moves before the rest of her head and seems to be floating in the air. Man, this error was bizarre, and I confess I was shocked when I first saw it. Can Bluey move parts of her body separately like the clown Buggy from One Piece? Colored belly. Everyone who enjoys watching Bluey knows that Bandit is like a bigger version of her. But among the details and characteristics that differentiate the father from the daughter, besides their size, there's one that is quite curious and easy to notice. Despite being mostly blue, Bandit has a different color on one part of his body. Do you know what it is? Bandit's belly has a yellowish hue in the stomach area. But the detail is that it's not always yellow. This also happened in the episode Takeaway, where he walks with his belly's normal color, and when he turns around, his belly is all blue. Pretty crazy, isn't it? The animators made quite a slip in that scene. The cool part is that Bandit and Bluey turned out exactly the same way. Like father, like daughter. Early baldness. Now, seriously, there are episodes of Bluey that are so funny that we always remember them. Certainly one of these is the Horseshoe episode, where Bluey, Bingo, and their cousin Muffin spend the day teasing Bandit and his brother Stripe. The girls have a blast in this episode, turning their parents into horses and playing with them. The funniest part is when the little dogs decide to have a pretend horse wedding, complete with a veil and all. And it's during this pretend wedding that another animation mistake happens, where the dark blue part of Bandit's head simply disappears, and it becomes entirely light blue. The expression on Bandit's face is very funny, and he seems to have gone bald without the dark blue part of his fur. I think the girls bothered their dad so much that he went bald prematurely. Let's give poor Bandit a break, folks. Bluey is so cool that even seeing the mistakes in this animation is a lot of fun. And if you're enjoying following this amazing list we've prepared for you, comment down below, #Bandit, an homage to the most trolled character in the history of this show. Also, tell us who your favorite Bluey character is. Error in the bush. In the episode The Creek, there's a very quick and hard-to-notice error with one of the audience's favorite non-main characters, McKenzie. When we see the little black and white puppy coming out of the bushes, we notice that his head is completely black-furred, when in reality, the fur on his head is almost all black, but he has a small white spot right in the middle of his head. It was only a few frames, true, but our watchful eyes caught it. Touché! Two-toned. In that same episode, we noticed another error once again involving McKenzie. As we mentioned, the fur on his head is black, and he has a white stripe right in the middle, but in one scene, we see that half of his head turns black, and the other half becomes completely white. Immediately after, his fur returns to normal. It seems like in this episode, they chose McKenzie to replace Bandit. False eyelashes. One of the most well-known episodes of Bluey is called Seesaw, where we follow the children's attempt to defeat Bandit, who is heavier than all of them and sits on the seesaw to tease the pups. When Bingo and Bluey realize they need help to defeat Bandit, they call all the kids to sit on the seesaw. One of these kids is the lovely pink poodle, Coco. When Bluey calls Coco, you can clearly see that she has a pair of eyelashes on her eyes. So far, so good. The problem is that when they call Pom Pom to help and we look back at Coco, she no longer has eyelashes. They simply disappeared. I might have said that the pink dog was wearing false eyelashes, but since they magically reappear at the end of the episode, this is marked as another animation error in Bluey. Mutant Bingo. In the episode Asparagus, the Healer family once again uses their imagination and plays together. While Chili and Bingo are pretending to be wild animals and attack the neighbor Pat, something very strange happens. When Bingo grabs Pat's leg with her mouth and drags him, her paw seems to pass through Pat's leg as if she were a ghost. Does Bingo have some superpower that we don't know about, like an X-Men who can pass through objects and people? Who knows, right? We've seen the girls with so many special abilities in many episodes that it would actually be pretty cool to watch an adventure where they are superheroes. How about that, Disney? Gliding through the air. Once again, we find a small error in Bluey, which is actually two errors. In the episode Meet Greenie, Bluey seems upset, and as she walks through the living room followed by her mom Chili, she kicks a yellow balloon. At that moment, two strange things can be seen, and we can consider two quite obvious animation errors. The first error happens at the exact moment when the blue pup kicks the yellow balloon, and surprisingly, the balloon moves before Bluey even kicks it. Did the balloon anticipate the hit and moved ahead of time? Or was one of the animators a bit too hasty? The second error follows right after the first one in the same scene. As she kicks the balloon, Bluey kind of slides onto the living room rug in the best moonwalking style of singer Michael Jackson. Jokes aside, this sliding movement of Bluey looks very odd and unnatural. I think the animator might have had a moment when they saw this afterward. Phantom fur. As we said before, if there's one character that frequently appears in these animation error lists, it's Bandit. It seems like the animators enjoy poking fun at Papa Healer, don't they? And once again, he's dealing with some hair issues, so to speak. This time, it seems like the animation team forgot to put a piece of fur under Bandit's right eye. But this happens very quickly, and immediately after, he's back to normal. I think it's better for Bandit to seek a fur specialist to address this little issue, because it seems like his hair has a life of its own. We know that creating an animated show as good as Bluey takes a lot of work, and we appreciate all the animators who work hard to deliver consistently excellent animations. Of course, errors happen because we're all human, except for Bluey and her family. But we couldn't resist bringing you this incredible video with these little mishaps for your amusement. We're gonna wrap it up here, but we've left two awesome videos here for you to click and continue enjoying. I heard the one on the right is amazing!